So you have to live like your parents are dead, especially as a man. I know that sounds very negative, but the reality is I've had to live like that for the past, I want to say almost 10 years of just seeing that my parents are not going to sustain me. They're not going to help me. They don't need to help me. That's what you have to do. A lot of you are just so focused on your parents helping you with everything. You have a plan B. You have some sort of a parachute when you start to jump. Because the biggest thing, I don't know if you've ever heard of the myth of Icarus, but that was when this man literally dove down and had to build his wings back up as he was going down. And that's essentially what you're doing with your life as a man, is that you're taking on a lot of different risks. And when you take on a lot of different risks, you're going to find yourself having to build those wings as you go down. And the reason why most people, especially men, are failing is because their parents are actually helping them build the wings before they even jump. Their parents aren't even letting them jump. Your parents might be telling you not to take the risk that you want to take. And the reason for that is because they're your parents. They want to make sure that you're good. They want to make sure that you are secure in this world, really handicapping you, because at the end of the day, the more risks you take as a man, the more competent that you'll be. So the biggest thing that you have to understand is that your parents are dead. They're not literally dead, because I know a lot of you are going to start thinking that. But the fact of the matter is they shouldn't be around to be able to influence what you want to do. They shouldn't be around to be able to fund you with every little thing that you do. If you have that, that's great. But most of us don't have that. And that actually comes at a benefit. That's why when you live in poverty, I've lived in poverty, it forces you to think on your feet. It forces you to be somebody who you probably weren't going to be if you had all of the abundance of resources from your parents that you would have had. So when you're starting to dive down and take those risks and you're building those wings, you have to realize that you're the only person that can build those wings. Nobody else can build them for you. I can't build them for you. Your favorite influencer is not going to build it for you. You have to learn how to build those wings. Your parents aren't going to build it for you. And if they do build it for you, you're going to have to make another jump and you're going to have to figure it out. So once you start continuously doing these things and taking these risks, one thing is your parents are going to start to respect you even more because they see that you can actually sustain yourself. The problem with most people is they start to take a lot of what their parents tell them, especially men. They start to take a lot of what paths their parents make them want to go. Hey, you should be a doctor. Hey, you should be a lawyer. When in reality, they want to be content creators. They want to be some star, maybe even a rapper if that's something you want to do. There are things that you're passionate about that you're not doing because you're handicapped by your parents. So you have to start living like they're dead. Because once you start living like they're dead, you're going to start to get a lot more respect from them. Because as you progress, as you show them that the way that you actually wanted to go when it comes to your path is actually succeeding, that's when they're going to start to continuously see that the progress is happening. They might even come to you and ask you how you did what you did. My parents do that all the time. So a story for you guys is when I was coming up, when I was in high school, my parents wanted me to be an anesthesiologist or an engineer. My whole family did. When I went to my entrepreneurial school, it was a top business school, but in the Haitian culture, business is not a thing. Business was actually an embarrassment. So I got laughed at a lot. But the reality is, as I started to progress, as I got the degree, even though that doesn't even matter in the business world, as I started to take a lot of these risks, even though things didn't go through, things always bounce back. And who came back to me at the very end of the day to ask me about how I did it? My parents, my family, everybody else was asking me how I'm doing what I'm doing. How am I able to travel? How am I able to make money for myself? Because the reality is the economy is not doing well right now. So because the economy is not doing well, a lot of these jobs that were promised to a lot of people are not being promised. They're not actually fulfilling on their promises. When you graduate with that degree, that doesn't mean that you're actually going to get the job. So you have to be able to figure out and take all of these different risks to be able to allow for yourself to blossom as a man, to then be able to sustain yourself, be able to sustain your future family. All of this stuff matters. But when you start to realize that your parents are actually the people who are holding you back the most, that's when you'll start to make the change. That's when you'll start to take the risk. That's when you'll start to become the man that you want to be. But until then, you're always going to be in your mom's basement. Your mom is always going to threaten you because you live in her house. So you have to live by her rules. The minute that you step away, the minute that you carve your own path, you become a man in your mom's eyes. See, your mom will always see you as a child until you start to make your own decisions. And that is when she will start to actually respect you. That's when your father will start to respect you. The goal is to actually surpass your father. And to do that, you have to take bigger risks than he did. And the way that you do that is by carving your own path. So at the end of the day, make sure that you understand that, yes, my parents are there, but they're not the parachute for me. They're not the wings that I need to be able to build so that I can actually fly when I jump off of this cliff. Don't literally jump off of a cliff because you'll die. But at the end of the day, you need to be able to start taking risks. So make sure that you internalize this. Make sure that you start to do these things. Start to disassociate yourself respectfully from your parents and start to go your own way, whether it's being a YouTuber. Again, if that's something you want to do, link is in the description. Work with me. I'll help you. I'll show you how I did it. I did it in a very short period of time, and I'm helping a lot of people do it. So one-on-one, if you want to tap in with me, consultations are there. We'll make sure that it makes sense for you to work with me, and then we can go from there. But at the end of the day, besides that, find your own path. Share this with a friend who's stuck in their mom's basement, who's stuck with their parents' opinions of themselves, and actually be able to jump off of the edge and be able to fly after you've jumped. So I appreciate you guys, and I'm gonna catch you on the next video.